And then, it was amazing to be able to understand and learn how to take an organization, like an organization that was left behind, build it back up, build up the team members, and then eventually let it go and see it grow without me in it, right? I think that's the purpose of leadership.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate you. We're going to have a great live tonight because Angel is definitely a special guest. I reached out to this brother and it was like when we got on the phone, we just clicked. It was like two long lost friends just reintroducing each other to their space, right? And so, real great brother, real sharp brother. I mean, it just always baffles me to see someone so young on the right path, because when I was that young, I wasn't on the right path. I was born on the wrong side of the tracks and I stayed there for a while. I was born in, I grew up in Liberty City, and one day I'll just come on here and just tell my story to some of you new guys. My folks, they know my story, they know I'm a Miami boy, but it's just so happens that, Angel is from a rougher side of the community also. And he could have gone on a different path, but he chose the path of leadership, and that's that excites me. That gets me motivated. I have a goal and a vision of influencing 100 million leaders throughout in my lifetime and beyond. That's the legacy that I want to leave. And he's one of the reasons why I do what I do, because I really want to touch and develop leaders. I really want to take away the myths that are out there about leadership. Because when I was growing up, I didn't think I could be a leader. I thought leadership was for, other people. I just didn't think about it. I never saw myself as a leader. But our guest tonight, he's embraced leadership. He's embraced relationships. He's the very reason that Leadership with Glasteen exists. And I want you guys to show him some love when he comes on, by clicking on those hearts, clicking on that little airplane, sharing it, sharing his stuff to other people on Facebook and everything, and just tell everybody that Angel's on, and we're going to have a conversation tonight that's going to blow the roof off this place, man. So without further ado, again, my name is Glasteen. I am your leadership coach, and we're going to have a conversation that's going to take your leadership to the next level. Let's get in it. Let's get Angel on board. Let's get Angel on board. Okay. All right. So we're waiting for Angel. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Y'all see me? I'm pumped. Oh.
How's it going there?
I got my boy all suited and booted. Oh my gosh. Angel is ready. I see
How's
you,
it going,
my
everybody?
friend. Oh man. Oh man. I'm excited. I'm speechless, man. Thank you. Thank you. Yo, man, Angel, thank you for coming, man. Really appreciate you, man. I just want to get right into it with you, because I want to give some people some time to hear your story, and just give us people are showing you love down there. I see the waves, I see the hearts, I see the sharing. I mean, all that. They're showing you some love here. And for someone to come with their posse as like you did. I mean, it shows the it's a testament to your character, and I really appreciate that. So for those of us that don't know you, man, give us a little bit of background about yourself, Angel.
Awesome, awesome. Well, hello everyone, and thank you everyone for hopping on this live. Thank you
Yeah.
for investing into yourself, and especially thank you for those who know Glassine as well. I have not met many of you. So first and foremost, my name is Angel Roman. Um, I was born and raised in Compton, California. Like Glassine was saying earlier, I grew up in a community where it didn't have the greatest of resources when it came to education, leadership, and just financial opportunity for a lot of people. And I knew for a fact that I wanted more out of life in terms of what I can give to the people. Um, so with that being said, luckily my parents have been a great influence on me when it came to setting me in the right direction towards education and towards professionalism. So because of their influence, my mom actually graduated from California State University Dominguez Hills, where I currently attend right now, and I'm currently a senior there. But I wanted to talk about leadership since this is the topic that we're on, right? So at Dominguez Hills, during my second year, I became president of an organization called Peace Club, right? And throughout my time there, I didn't know how to be a leader. I just took the club because the seniors there were graduating, so there was no one left to lead the club, and it was a very important organization because I saw how it touched the lives of many of the students at the university. So, with that being said, I took that club with the team, and we left that club for about 3 years, and eventually, luckily, another friend of mine, itself, she took the club as she's the new president right now. And then it was amazing to be able to understand and learn how to take an organization, like an organization that was left behind, build it back up, build up the team members, and then eventually let it go and see it grow without me in it, right? I think that's the purpose of leadership. Um, Going into an organization or a team and leaving it better than it was as you leave. And that's definitely where it is at today. With that being said, I also got involved into a fraternity, and we became founding fathers, Emmanuel and I, here actually, and Cruz is actually here as a fraternity brother as well. Yeah, so thank you all for being on board. But I do want to say that was another initiative that we wanted to create at Dominguez Hills because we wanted to establish a new brotherhood. We wanted to change Greek culture there. So by making the impact of creating our own fraternity, it definitely, we're definitely different. I definitely like to say that. And then after that, though, started entrepreneurship endeavors because I'm a true follower of leadership. I believe that anyone has leadership within them. All they have to do is cultivate it and train themselves to understand how to use their leadership and understand their leadership style. So
Man, that's awesome. You know what? I was going to ask for your leadership for philosophy, but you beat me to the punch. That is awesome, man. I especially about the part of cultivating leadership, that everyone has leadership inside of them. And that is the truth, y'all. If anyone tell you guys any different, that you are not a leader, that is a lie. If anyone says that you cannot learn to be a leader, that is a lie. You were born with leadership capacity built in. That was from the manufacturer. So Angel, man, we were talking, and I know that you majored in conflict resolution, man. I mean, that to me just blew my mind. I didn't know there was such a major in college, conflict resolution. Could you explain to us why you went into such a track, and what is conflict resolution?
Got it. Well, that's a great question. Thank you so much for the question. So, ever since I was a kid, I can remember that I was one of the older siblings, right? I was definitely the older sibling, but the older cousin. And a lot of the cousins would always come to me when it came to conflicts. They would come to me and say, "Hey, this cousin punched me," or some stuff was going on, right? So I always found myself in the position of having to resolve the conflict, to talk to everybody, to be the mediator. And ever since then, I always thought, why is it that a lot of people have conflicts with one another, right? There has to be a reason for that, and a lot of conflicts, are very unnecessary and can honestly be avoided. So the thing is, remember how I mentioned that I was the president of Peace Club at some point. When I was president of Peace Club, the major was called Negotiation, Conflict Resolution, and Peace Building. So they actually sent a message to the Peace Club because they wanted to collaborate in some events, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea the major even existed because it wasn't marketed enough. So we actually made the connection. And from there, I was like, wow, I did not know that what I'm already doing, I could study for it. So from there, I was already thinking, wow, I can do, let's find out what I can do with this major, right? So with conflict resolution, what conflict resolution is when people hear the word conflict, right? People get uneasy. It feels strange.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to be in conflict.
I know.
People do not want to be in conflict. In fact, so many people, when they're in conflict, they'll just rather not talk about it. They'll just go their own separate ways, not even handle the conflict because of how ugly it feels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And conflict resolution is being able to pierce through those emotions and understanding the bigger picture regarding the resolution side of it, right? Because at the end of the day, the goal is to better relationships amongst the people that are having conflicts. And if we think about it, conflict happens anywhere. It happens in the family. It happens in the workplace. It happens in organizations. It doesn't matter where you work. There's always some kind of conflict that comes up. And that's why I found it important to major in conflict resolution, because I felt like I could do the world a great service if I helped people resolve conflicts and also helped coach people when it came to conflict resolution as well.
Wow. You know you're an oxymoron, right? And because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit because I don't know if you explain to people the history of where you were raised, because that history has very close ties with conflict, and non-resolution, but when you was growing up, it lightened up a little bit. Could you talk more about that environment and what you saw and how you came to be who you are today, as far as, the guy that says, hey, you know what? I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to be different. I'm going to take control of my destiny. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to bring some resolution to all of this conflict that my environment, the history of my environment was involved in.
Right, most definitely. So, as growing up in Compton, I went to, Compton elementary schools and Compton middle schools. And, even in the middle schools and the middle school and the elementary school, a lot of fights broke out. I don't want to just say that it was Compton specifically, because I know it happens everywhere. But I will definitely say that the environment, there was a lot going on, when it came to, sometimes there would be conflicts about race. Sometimes there would be conflicts about what's been going on in regards to like drugs, in regards to gang member life. And, there's a lot of stuff that I saw in middle school. Personally, I always avoided that kind of lifestyle, but it was mostly because of my parents. My parents were very strict. And part of me, when I was growing up, I think I told you this before, but I wanted to go to Compton High School versus the high school that I went to, which is King Drew. because all of my friends were going to go to Compton High, right? And I wanted to go because I was like, oh, my friends are going there, but my parents were really strict and they just told me, you know what, this school has more opportunity for you, and we want to see you go to college, right? Not that I couldn't have gone to college if I went to Compton High School, but they wanted me to have a more clear path to college from their perspective, right? Yeah, I've seen conflict pretty much anywhere. I think that, especially growing up in Compton, there's this face you kind of have to put up sometimes to either reciprocate that you look tough, right?
I know
Because you
that's
don't
right.
want to get, you don't, you probably know what I'm talking about, especially also where you grew up. But yeah, there's this face you always constantly have to put up sometimes because you don't want people to take advantage of you. You know, when someone walks up on you on the street or something like that. So yeah, it was a very interesting dynamic because I got used to putting that face up, right? But I also knew that it was a fake face. I knew it wasn't really me. And I think that what happened is I didn't allow it to become me.
Wow.
I didn't take that with me, you know, in the university setting. I don't take it with me in any other settings. And
Wow.
I don't even take it with me right now in a
Wow.
normal setting. It's more of a, I know who I am when it comes to
Wow.
that. I don't have to do all that to fit in, essentially.
Wow. That's awesome, Angel. That is awesome. Like I you see why I like this cat, y'all. You see why I like this cat? Because I'm remembering when I was growing up, when he talks about faces, man. I mean, we used to call it mean mugging. When you walk down the street like this, and then
Yeah.
you know you pass by somebody, you're like, you know, because you wanna put up that persona, that facade, because you don't want to get tried. I mean, because we're Angel. I grew up in Liberty City, Miami. You know, so I mean, straight at the bottom. I mean, this was the worst place. This was like a war zone, right? And I was part of the war. I'm not going to front. I was part of the problem. But at the same time, here's a guy that's growing up, and with so many distractions around him, he still has the sense enough to listen to his parents that says, hey, you're not going to follow. You're not going to be a follower. We're teaching you essentially to be a leader, and you're going to go this way. And he has sense enough to be like, you know what? You're right. I might not like it. I might not understand it, but I'll go that way. Because that's a thing that I didn't have while I was growing up. You know, I was like, nah, I'm going that way. My friends are going that way. Everybody's going that way. And plus, I don't want to get beat up, so I'm going that way. They couldn't. They tried to take me out of one school to another, but back in the 90s, the school system was kind of very, very political. Let me put it that way, for lack of a better term. Very political, and I could not go. My parents could not have me enrolled in certain schools if I didn't live near that school. They tried, but I was like, hey, if I'm gonna be here, I'm going to be here because my life was in jeopardy every single day, and I needed those guys surrounding me to make sure that I got home safely when I was going to and from school. So you know, when you meet a person like Angel, it's kind of like refreshing to see that someone took the stand and was like, hey, you know what? I am going to be me. I know who I am. I didn't know who I was. I came out the hood, came out of college, got fired at my first job, my first corporate job, because the manager was afraid of me.
Wow.
They didn't fire me under those grounds. They found something else. But one of my friends that I made as I was working there for a year, called me and said, hey, this is the reason why he wanted to get rid of you.
Wow.
You know, so there was a lot of conflict in me, and I didn't know how to resolve that at that time. So I had to learn, you know, by, you know, getting mentors and everything. And I didn't have parents. My parents are, you know, from the Dominican Republic, and they gravitated to Haiti, and then they came here to the United States and trying to make something of themselves, confused, you know, with the system and all this stuff. And so I didn't have that mentorish parents per se. They were great parents. They did the best that they could, but I didn't have that certain guidance. And plus I was like my mom, I was hard-headed. I was going my way because I knew that they didn't understand what I had to go through every single day. You know, there were some times I came home, I got robbed, they took my money, they took my sneakers and everything, and I had to walk home barefoot.
Wow.
You know, because I was alone. And I was like, that's not going to keep happening. No way. That's not going to keep happening. So I really, man, did you see, I'm getting away from this thing. Did you see your parents resolve conflicts in a way that was very positive while you were growing up, and you was like, you know what? Looking back, I want to emulate that type of relationship in my life and with myself.
Right. I would say I don't necessarily know the details of the resolution when it came to them, but I did know that it would always end up in a healthier state, right? Like there would be some kind of, they would come back and then everything would be good to go. Definitely, I did not feel any of that conflict reciprocated back to me, and I think they did that well, because I feel like in some states, parents, unfortunately, the conflicts that they themselves are going through can also be reflected onto the children, and they can actually be hurt, you know, by what's going on with the parents. And I think it's important that my parents didn't do that. That they handled their stuff, and at the end of the day, they're really close. You know, they're close. They resolved their conflicts, and you know, I think that it definitely did play a role in my conflict resolution journey.
Awesome, man. Awesome. When you see a great leader, man, all you got to do is look back to the parents, man. And I love it. So what could you tell us, like, there's some attributes that you have to be a leader, especially because you're dealing with conflict resolution, you know, on and off all the time. Either you're
Yes.
dealing with yourself or you're dealing with outside parties. What are some attributes a leader has to have in order to deal with conflict in the midst of their team, home, or community?
Wow. Amazing question. Amazing question. Wow. Let's see. I think the number one trait is empathy, 100%. Because the ability to put yourself into someone else's shoes, it allows you to move away from your own perspective, right? So a lot of the times we as people, we are flawed. So we believe that we always want to be right all the time. We always want to be right. And if we're not, it hurts our egos. And we're afraid of that. So we attach to this idea of wanting to be right all the time. But in reality, we have to let go of all of that and really dive deep into the other person and understand what is it that they're going through? What is it that they're feeling? What's their perspective? Why don't I ask them, right? A lot of people won't even ask someone what their perspective is on an issue, because if they're in a conflict, they don't want to talk to each other, right? So that dynamic that creates, it could be dangerous because it will create this avoidance dynamic amongst the people. And that can be in the home, in an organization, in any kind of scenario. As I stated earlier, with conflict being able to be a part of any part of your life. So I think empathy is number one. And also, I think I dove into the other one where it's removing yourself from the I need to always be right mentality.
That's
That
powerful.
Because in all honesty, we're all wrong sometimes. It's
Mm-hmm.
true, and we have to accept that.
Yeah,
Let
I
me
mean,
see another one.
We have these we have these lenses that we look at the world,
Oh yeah.
and we expect everybody else to look at the world the exact same way. And if they don't, we judge them.
Yes,
They
sir.
don't understand. No, it got to be like this. You got to go here. No, not there. You got to do it this way. You know, it's so funny that we think we got all the answers. I mean, we always preface it with like, you know, I'm only human, and I'm not perfect or whatever. But when it comes to conflict resolution, I've noticed that people take a different stance of you're wrong and I'm right. And in their minds, they're convinced.
Yes.
And that always baffles me. I'm like, wow. And because I'm like the leader, I'm like the third party. I know you're wrong. I don't come in there looking like that, but I've been watching for a while. So I know you're wrong.
That's true. That's
and
true.
Everybody, the whole team knows you're wrong. But this person, Angel, in their minds, they are absolutely right.
Yep.
And what you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, and that's a very dangerous thing. Very dangerous.
I know. And what is some this is like the antithesis to the first question. What are some mistakes that you notice that some leaders make when they're in the process of conflict resolution?
Got it. I think it depends on what the dynamic is, for sure, because sometimes the leader might be the one who's involved in the conflict with another person, or they're trying to resolve a conflict between two of their members, right? Two of their leaders as well. But I'd say for the first one, let's say if I'm involved in a conflict with someone else, right? My mistake essentially from that perspective would be, I think it also goes back to just thinking that I'm right all the time, right? Because I'm the president, I'm the owner, the founder. There's a lot of ego that gets attached to positions. That's what makes leadership and conflict resolution together. Like leaders get it confused. Leaders are not bosses, right? They're two different things. And leaders, when they start behaving like bosses because they're so stuck to their positions, that's when they'll fail. They have to have no bias in their mind of who is right or wrong. It's more of, let me understand the entire conflict dynamic before making a decision, right? It's about understanding completely their own perspective, but also the perspective of someone else. And I'd say the problem is they'll try to resolve the conflict too quickly. Sometimes it takes a while to resolve conflicts, and that's okay. I think that when it comes to business or organizations, people want to resolve them fast because they're like, oh, we have to get things done. But in reality, if you let something go unnoticed or unresolved, just because you would try to resolve it too quickly, so you didn't get the full conversation, that's going to backfire. And then it's going to bring up even more and more conflicts to the organization, which can lead to even more catastrophe. So it's about truly having those conversations, the full conversation. None of it can be left out, from all perspectives.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That was extraordinary the way you explained that so clearly, that we have to give relationships time the same way that relationships take time to grow, it's the same way they take time to heal, especially when something disrupted that relationship. And as leaders, I've been guilty of this. You know, I want that stuff to stop, like now.
Right. Definitely.
Because we got stuff to do.
Oh yeah.
We got things to do. You know, I got clients to please. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, I got things to do, and I sometimes in the past I rushed it. You know, I'm like, you know, if you two guys can't get this thing resolved, man,
Yes, sir.
You know, the door is right. You know.
Right.
Well, on that talk, I'm joking, y'all, but that was the past. That was the past. I've been forgiven. I'm good now. So let me ask you this: when is it a valid time to bring in a third party mediator, conflict resolution expert?
Got it. I'd say if so, I want to get into this dynamic of something called positions versus interests, right? So positions, everyone has a position. Position means what you want. So sometimes out of a conflict, each person wants something out of it, right? And the thing is, if the people are not willing to have a conversation about it, a third party is needed. Because the thing about conflict resolution is sometimes one of the other parties may not want to have those conversations, and they'll make it difficult to even have that conversation, right? So that's when a third party is needed. Another scenario that I could definitely think of is if both people are so stuck on their wants to the point where they can't even have a conversation, because both people may still want to have the conversation, but they can't, because it turns out into a straight argument. They can't even think straight after the conversation, right? It's a yelling match at that point. When it turns to that, definitely you need a third party, because, oh man, like, you know, it's a funny thing in the conflict resolution field. They say that even people who are good at being a third party may need a third party, because sometimes, right, because sometimes it can get to that point, especially if you're dealing with a high pressure conflict. Because man, like conflicts, they could vary, especially when we talk about stuff like child custody, stuff with where your job is at stake, where you can be fired. You know, that's a lot of high tension, because some people don't want to lose their jobs, right? They're gonna lose a lot of stability, or people don't want to lose a child. That's almost like you're messing with someone's emotions there. So yeah, if it's a high pressure conflict situation, third party is definitely needed.
Man, I have seen non-resolved conflicts turn into physical fights in the cafeteria in a corporate environment.
Oh man.
I was shocked.
Wow.
That two people could be seated next to each other and stand up, and next thing you know, blows are just like, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny though? In this organization that I was in, I never saw those two people after that day.
they were let go.
That was the last time I saw those two people, and I was like, wow, this company, they do not play with that, man. There wasn't. I mean, I know there probably wasn't no mediation, or it was like, quick, termination, because, I mean, fist fights, chairs flying, I mean, rolling, I mean, slamming, I mean, security everywhere. I was like, wow, I thought I was in the lunchroom in high school or something. But I was in a corporate atmosphere. This was my third year into it after college. And I was like, wow, they do the same thing we do in the hood. This is how you resolve conflict.
Right. Yeah. That's how we don't want to resolve conflict, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I had a strong passion for conflict resolution, because I feel like, especially in undereducated communities, we're not taught conflict resolution. Like the standard high schooler doesn't know about conflict resolution. Middle schoolers don't know how to resolve conflict unless they're taught so, right, by middle school programs or high school programs, or if someone teaches them. But it's not information that's in your English class, right? And I think that's the problem. I feel like conflict resolution should be information that anyone should have access to, in regards to how they can improve their own skills.
You know, I like that comment, and I want to probe into that comment a little bit.
Yeah.
And as far as conflict resolution is, I think conflict resolution should be taught in kindergarten. I mean, it should be, and all through the different phases of your school's life, because at every stage of your school life, because it is such an important skill to have. It is such an important skill, especially if you're going to be a leader. You must understand conflict. If you don't know how to control yourself, aka lead yourself, don't come out here trying to lead people. It doesn't work like that, because not every day is going to be sunshine and roses, because people are going to do things that's going to piss you off.
Yes, sir.
And you're gonna have to be the type of woman to look at them and be like, can we have a conversation about this? Can we go somewhere and talk?
Yep.
And not have any ill feelings about them.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to be that person.
Yep.
And it is not easy. I mean, people think about leadership, they think about what they think about Angel, they think about corner office.
Yeah.
They think about, the company car.
Yeah.
CEO status, C-suite status.
Yeah.
That's far from leadership. That's far from leadership.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think someone who's only aiming for those positions, they're not a leader. Because they're only looking at that position either because it may do good for their name, or it may do good for what's it called, for how they feel about themselves, right? A lot, like I said, it's all tied to ego. But if they're interested in the position for more of wanting to make change in the company, it's a different dynamic. Because from there, it's the purpose is different, right? And I didn't want to talk to you, actually, since you mentioned the whole idea of, the leader being the one to take initiative, even though you're mad at someone, to have that conversation. It's very true. So I actually want to talk about a situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead. Right? Go ahead. Give us real life.
Yeah. So it's a real life situation. So there was a huge summit, right, that was going on at our university, and it was hosted by another organization. I was just a volunteer. However, just because I wasn't the leader of that event doesn't mean I was not a leader by being a volunteer. The whole dynamic of leadership is still there. So it was my responsibility to be in charge of a classroom, a middle school classroom, to take them to a couple of sessions to talk about the development of men of color, different issues that we talk about, right? And so according to the schedule, I wasn't supposed to be at the room till 10 minutes later, right? However, the supervisor just came up to me, and he was angry, and he was just yelling at me, man, yelling. Why? He was like, "Why aren't you guys at the room yet?" Just blasting me. And
wow.
And I understood I said two things. One, he was in a high pressured situation. Why? Because I knew that that guy was actually his fraternity brother. The teacher of that classroom was his fraternity brother, so he didn't want to look bad. That's number one. And number two is, sorry about that, the low battery thing came. but the number two thing was that this event was a big deal, right? It's a big deal. A lot of great things were happening. So from there, as a leader, I was mad. I was honestly mad. Like, I was like, man, this guy's just yelling at me. This is ridiculous. And someone who is mad could have easily just went up to him right then and there and said, hey, listen, just go off on him back or tell him something. But I wasn't gonna do that. I just said, okay. I just told him, okay, everything's okay. I'll make sure it happens. Good. Mm-hmm. Everything happened. The event went as scheduled. It was a great event. 2 days later, I go to his office, right? I held back all of that, and I said, you know what? Let me, and this is a technique I use. If you're watching this might actually help you. Write down everything you want to say beforehand. Write it down, release all of it, because you want to understand exactly what you want to say to people, right? So from there, I went off. I took out all the words that probably weren't professional, right? Weren't professional to talk about, right? And, you know, I went up to his office and I said, hey, listen, do you remember the event that happened last Saturday? And then he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, man, it was a great event. And I said, hey, listen, I know that, and this is me coming from an understanding point of view, right? I understood that there was a lot of pressure on him, so I wasn't going to go off on him. So I told him, hey, listen, I understand that you had a huge role in the event. It was probably a high-pressured event for you. I noticed that you were a little stressed out. But I did want to let you know that I felt terrible the day you were yelling at me, right? I didn't necessarily think it was okay for you to do that. And I told him, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, is it fine if we have a conversation about this, right? From there, he didn't even realize he did that to me. He was just telling me, he was just like, go, because, you know, a lot of high pressure situation. He was just like, I have to do checklist, you know, checklist mentality. He just has to get things done. And from there, we had a great conversation about it. And actually, our relationship ended up being stronger in regards to the bond, because it's a psychological fact that if two people resolve conflict, more than likely, they're likely to have a stronger bond because of that resolution. Depending on how the resolution ends off, most definitely. But people actually get closer.
No, I totally agree with that, and I recognize that. And I think people, when you confront people, it's a very liberating thing to do. Like you liberate yourself, and you give the other person to liberate themselves, that you guys can communicate like at another level. Yeah. And for me, that's like total respect when someone confronts me to give me feedback, because that's one of the things that I've noticed about companies and organizations and families that have a lot of conflict. Yeah. There's a lack of feedback. There's a lack of open communication flow. There's not a invitation, right. Open invitation to give your feedback, because feedback might be, it might seem offensive to the person, because it's not easy to get feedback, y'all. I know y'all be like, oh, that's right, that's right. That they should be open to feedback. It's not easy to get feedback, y'all. Mm-hmm. When somebody telling you you're garbage, it's not easy to hear. It's not easy to hear, especially when you're in a position of authority. It gets harder to hear. Oh yeah. You have to learn how to be open to that type of feedback. But what I'm saying is this is what I want you to understand, is that when you liberate yourself, when you get away from ego, when you put ego aside for a minute or two, and you take that in, I'm gonna tell you, there's one thing that can really happen to you that I've seen that happen to me. After you hear that feedback, you have two choices. You can either take that feedback and be resentful and start strategizing and how you're going to mess this person up, how you're going to retaliate, or Number two, you can take that feedback and become better.
Yeah.
That no one else will be able to give you that same feedback in your career. You can get better from that feedback.
Yes, sir.
And once you get better in that feedback, people are going to start treating you differently. Because you know what? The thing is, other people saw it too. They were just afraid to tell you. You know, that person, Angel, was the only one that had the audacity to confront you about it. But everybody sees it. And your whole leadership changes. Because as a leader, you are the one that goes first. Leaders go first. You set the example. You set the tone. So you should always want to hear feedback. In order for you to be a good conflict resolution expert, mediator, whatever you want to call it, you have to be able to resolve the conflict within yourself first. Am I right,
Yes,
Angel?
sir. 100% right. You know, I'm so glad you touched on feedback, constructive criticism, all of that, because my leadership team and I were actually talking about it not too long ago. We talk about it all the time, and we talk about how leaders should crave criticism. They should crave it. You want it. It's not about you're just happy to hear it. No, you constantly want it, because the faster you get feedback and the faster you act on it, the faster you'll improve.
Yes.
Because you're just you know, and it's true. It's about removing that ego side. And a tip on that is to not sit on your failure so long. Look at it and immediately put in anything you need to do into action. That's what you have to do. Manuel said right here, prelude to leadership mindset. Yeah. Another thing too is knowing how to give feedback, right? A leader knowing how to give it. So there's this thing called the sandwich model of how to give feedback, where I've used it, and it's been very helpful to give constructive criticisms to the people in my team. And essentially what it is, it's giving someone a positive, a constructive, and then an overall positive and a thank you, right? So, you know, if for example, let's say my publicity director when I was in Peace Club, I could have easily been like, hey, why aren't the posts up? What is going on? People aren't going to see the events. We're not going to have a good attendance rate because of that. That's blowing up on someone, right? And a lot of leaders or bosses do that. But the key would be, instead of approaching them in that way, they're not even going to want to post it anymore, because you're already creating a very negative and just ugly dynamic, right? So instead of that, you can say, hey, listen, you've been doing amazing when it comes to the flyer designs. Wow, I am astonished by it. You're doing very, very well. However, is it okay if you start posting the flyers in a more timely fashion? Because I know you care about the team. I know you care about the organization, and we need to make sure that we have a really good attendance. But overall, thank you so much. You already know our organization appreciates you. Thank you so much. Boom, right? Different.
I like that.
Instead of the person feeling, oh my gosh, like this feedback is feeling so ugly, you know, they're not feeling with it anymore. In fact, they might even feel more motivated and get more stuff done on time. So that technique has helped so much, and I honestly would recommend for people to use that technique. However, personally, as a leader, someone doesn't have to use that technique for me to not feel bad, because I understand myself on that level, right? Not everyone is going to give us feedback the way we want them to, unfortunately. So we also have to develop some kind of thick skin when it comes to receiving that feedback, and understanding how to just transfer that and utilizing it as soon as possible.
Man, hey guys, you guys just received a master class in conflict resolution. This man just broke it down for you guys, and broke it down for me. And I mean, Angel, we have to do a part 2 of this, because Yo, this has been awesome. Epic, 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 epic. I love it. I love it.
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
gonna go right. I'm gonna go right into my last question.
Okay.
Because I think everyone got the strategies that you can put in place today, that you can implement these strategies right now into your life, whether it be with your wife, husband, child, coworker, boss. You can implement this sandwich strategy. You can implement the writing down of what you're gonna say. And I mean just taking it out here and putting it on paper and deleting what you're gonna be you might be sorry you said, and just going at it in a constructive and positive way. So
Yes,
you can implement those strategies right now. Right now.
Yes, sir.
Right now. I mean, Angel just broke it down for you. If you need more, gotta go to his IG channel and get more. Go to his IG channel, get more, follow this dude, and learn more. But here's the question, Angel. Here's my last question.
Okay.
If you were to be able to go back in time and have a conversation with somebody that's already passed away for an hour,
Yeah.
who would that person be?
Wow. I've actually thought about that question a lot, and it's a tough one. It's truly a tough one. But I've always had a huge love for Martin Luther King Jr.
I knew it was brothers. That's the same.
Yeah.
That's the same. I always choose him. Always.
Yeah. And I just what he's accomplished, man. I feel like he's been one of the, if not the greatest, one of the greatest servant leaders that the world has ever seen.
Ever. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, and all that he's accomplished, and I'm sure that he definitely be proud of what he's accomplished, and the people he's influenced, but also just being able to have that conversation and seeing, how did you do it, man? Like, how did you have that amount of faith in yourself, that amount of leadership, and that amount of people following the cause, right? Because there's a lot of division today still, and it's really important for us to learn from the greats who did it.
Man, awesome. And you know what, Angel, you have those same qualities too. I've done extensive reading on Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and you have those same qualities, brother. You're headed down in the right direction. And on that note, man, I love this conversation so much that I'm going to have to ask you to come back again, man, one of these days. It might be 2020, 2021, but you got to come back. We're going to stay in contact. Now tell everyone how they can stay in touch with you, brother.
Awesome. So I'll go ahead and even give y'all my phone number if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, well, first, my Instagram handle is official Angel Roman. Y'all can see it up here next to Glassstein's. I'm also on Glassstein's post if anybody wants to go ahead and follow me from there. My phone number is 310-415-6127. Please do not prank call me or prank text me. Talk about anything. Also, I'm on LinkedIn as Angel Roman. You can also follow our business page at Evolution of Leadership. That's our leadership company that we're definitely running. And yeah, I usually use Instagram or text, LinkedIn, and that's pretty much mostly what I use.
Hey, Shadow said, "My boo, Angel Roman, my boo." She's writing down that number right. She's like, "Ooh, yeah, I got him now." Hey, man, everybody. Again, Angel, thank you for this conversation, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your servanthood. I mean, just really thank you for everything that you do every day and how you're, just everything that you do, man, as a leader, man. Thank you for being in my life, influencing me. And I just really appreciate you just taking your time and talking to us today. And I want to say good night to you because I'm going to close this out.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Hey, that was wonderful. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Next week, 8 o'clock Wednesday night, I will be here with another special guest, and I don't want you to miss it. Remember, I'm coming out with my book, Bulletproof Glass, in January. Look out for that. Hey, I know that was kind of heavy, but if you want to see more leadership tips like this that could take your leadership to the next level, click on this video right here, right next to me. I think you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.